Happy Valentine's Day, GameLeap Nation. What's up, everybody? Coach Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Valentine's Day Valorant video. And in this video, I thought it would only be right if I break down the sex machine himself, Shroud, on Valentine's Day. So we're going to be breaking down some of his gameplay and give you actionable tips and tricks on what you should do to dominate like Shroud does in Valorant and in the bedroom. Okay, I'll stop. But go to the GameLeap website in the links down below for in-depth advanced guides, VOD reviews, tips, and tricks, and our special 50% off Valentine's Day sale is one you're not going to want to miss in the comments down below. So do yourself a favor, go check it out right now. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. Now, kicking right off into the Shroud game, you know, normally I would grab a game of Shroud where he just starts dominating right off the gate and he's just killing people left and right. But that doesn't really reflect what a lot of us go through in our games, especially when we have really bad starts. And in this particular game, Shroud is starting 2-4, which is pretty brutal and underperforming. But Shroud comes back in a big way, so we're gonna break all down everything that you need to know about how to come back when you're not really performing well at the start of the game. Now, before we get into that, let's play a game with Shroud called What Will Shroud Do? Okay, so Shroud pushes this point and he's gonna kill this Phoenix, and he notices that the Phoenix drops a Bulldog. So here's when we play What Would Shroud Do? Does he A, grab the Bulldog, B, stay with the Stinger? I'll give you a second to think about it, okay? Well, honestly, he doesn't do either. He freaking carries the Stinger and the Bulldog all the way to under heaven so that he can have both of the weapons. If you didn't think of that, well, guess what? That's what Shroud did. Now, the reason that you would do this is because of his Killjoy ultimate, and he knows that the site is completely clear. He has some time where he's not really doing anything, and actually repositioning but taking both the guns with you is legitimate value down the line. He gets to use his Bulldog to fight in further effective ranges, and he always has the Stinger to go to if he needs a different type of weapon that's better at close ranges, or if he needs a free and fast reload. This is a strategy that you could do with a lot of different types of weapons and can be legitimately powerful, or just having a weapon nearby in certain situations. Like, let's say you're using an operator, but you purposely put something like a Stinger back a sight, so you have a free reload and a different type of gun that fights at better close ranges when enemies want to rush into you. Now, moving on to this next engagement, one thing that a lot of low-level players fail to do, but Shroud does in this instance, is they watch smokes for enemies wanting to push through, especially as the door closes. You see, unlike other tactical shooters like CS, for example, in Valorant, people love to push through smokes at pretty much every single rank. Now, that being said, if enemies push through the smoke and you're actively looking at it, you do have the advantage. But because so much other stuff is going on, a lot of players fail to guard smokes, and it's incredibly important for you to do so. No enemy pushes out in this instance, but I know for a fact many times in your games, an enemy has pushed through a smoke when you weren't watching it and killed 1, 2, or even 3 players on your team, which is actually a straight up throw. So make sure that, especially as things are happening like doors are closing or your allies have other angles, make sure you're watching these smokes for smoke pushes. This happens a lot in this scenario, or when you're pushing a site like A on split and you smoke off heaven and an enemy just pushes through the smoke, no one's looking that way, and that person just mows down everybody because people just think, hey, there's a smoke, obviously we can't get shot from that angle, but you can, because they can just walk right through. Now we're going to the next play that we're going to break down. So Shroud is going to buy an operator, and he's going to be opping double blast doors, and he's just going to hold it. He's going to hold close right, and he's going to do a very simple flick to kill that jet. And then afterwards, he's not going to re-peek this angle because that's incredibly risky to re-peek with an op. Someone could have posted up like a Vandal on that angle, and it's really hard for you to peek that angle, find your target before they just click your head. But he is going to go main just in case the enemy team rushes, and he's going to help his teammate. But another thing that Shroud does, and a lot of high-level players will do, that low-level players just simply mess up over and over and over again, is Shroud here, as he's coming back into tree, he doesn't assume that the space he just had, the space he just occupied, is still his. You see, many times, I see this with low and even higher level players, people often feel timinged, where they're like, hey, I just got timed, that's so unlucky. But it's typically not because you got timed by the enemy, but because you didn't respect the enemy's potential to move while you were gone temporarily. You gotta think about it from Shroud's perspective. Shroud got an op kill cat, which incentivizes an enemy for wanting to push it, and he also shot an op shot A main, so it's actually pretty likely that if anyone was rocking mid, they would have pushed up cat. But even if it's not incredibly likely, the fact that Shroud plays around such a thing means that he's just not going to get caught out by an enemy that lurked up here, while many players would have just ran up here with a knife out, or they just would have ran up here not expecting an enemy to be pushed up, and then they would have got caught out and they would have lost that op, maybe even lost the point altogether. This is an incredibly important concept for you to understand fully, because getting timing is not an excuse for dying. Most of the time, it all comes to isolating angles and imagining where enemies would have come from or they could have possibly pushed to while you were momentarily gone from that angle. But if you have any questions about this concept, definitely let me know in the comments down below. But moving on to the next big play that we need to talk about, notice how the entire enemy team is obviously rushing here. He's playing up here with the Jet. He hears all the abilities happening. He hears the Phoenix ult, and he hears all the running, so he knows that the enemy team is about to rush this point. And Shroud is gonna pop his ult, and he's gonna back up into the smoke that's at doors, and he's gonna blind to slow the enemy, even though that doesn't really do anything. But ultimately, what he's doing here is he's repositioning behind the smoke. Now, he's gonna wait inside the smoke for a second, and then he's gonna peek out to destroy the Phoenix that was clearing sight. Now, you can really see one of the big benefits of having a weapon like a Phantom if you're an attacker, because you could easily have bursted a little bit through this smoke and maybe punish Shroud, but no one did such a thing, maybe because they had a Vandal or they were just scared of people on site, so they didn't check or clear this smoke, and Shroud was able to lurk inside of it with ease. Now, after he gets that kill on Phoenix, he can fish for more, where he peeks out even more so. He does a small spray, but doesn't hit that spray, so he gets to retreat back using the orb that was left, and he gets to go to safety. Now, afterwards, he's gonna get another flash. He's gonna use it to get a secondary peek, retake site control, and he's gonna kill the flush Jet as well from the Brimstone ultimate, which is a rather easy kill as well. Now, I want you to note something about this engagement, which is an engagement that you could think, hey, Shroud carried this engagement. He killed the Phoenix, he killed the Jet, he really shut down the enemy's push. But notice how the initial kill on the Phoenix was not a straight up aim duel, but rather an easy kill on that Phoenix when the Phoenix couldn't adequately put enough attention onto the angle that Shroud could come from because he was clearing sight. Now, of course, we know that Shroud has amazing aim and he can win a lot of straight up aim duels, but a lot of the pop-off moments are not going to be straight up aim duels, and I see far too many Reyna players or just players in general trying to take aggressive aim duels without ever consistently setting up scenarios like this, where he basically got to get 2 kills and stop the push just by being in the right place and timing an appropriate engagement using his abilities, not necessarily going all in, trying to just outduel everyone and hit every headshot. This is a concept that we touched on a while back, but it's just about learning the type of duels that don't require you to always have your aim perfectly on point, and these are the ones that you should try to strive for a giant percentage of the time. But moving on to the next play that I wanted to break down, the enemy team makes a huge mistake here. You see, they actually left the spike by blast doors, and Shroud, lurking at a B, lurks up and finds the spike. He pings it and calls to his team that he wants them to come and wrap to him, and they do. And then Shroud does something or says something pretty interesting, so I'm gonna play the clip about what he says. Roll it.
One drop mid, one drop.
Sova, you should play there.
One cat as well, one cat as well.
Sova, play on this ping. Look at B main. Get ready to swing for Killjoy. Killjoy, get ready to swing for me. And I could swing for you, Sova.
There's 2, I think all 3 mid, I'm pretty sure.
Now, basically, what Shroud is defining here is what I would call a refrag hold play. Now, every single person has each other's peaks that will cascade down. If any individual person gets swung, another person is in position to swing instantly the person that killed them. And this is very important because how many times have you been in a 3v2 but managed to lose up against a numbers disadvantage? This has happened way too much, and typically it's because one person is peeking an angle that is not refraggable. One person is peeking an angle that any one of the other people cannot easily swing. Like, imagine if Shroud, instead of peeking this angle inside the lip of blast doors, he was peeking out all the way into the middle past blast doors. This would be a really big problem because hypothetically an enemy could kill Shroud, and if his ally tried to swing, he could not see the person that killed him, which means that you couldn't effectively get the refrag. But in the current situation, every single kill, no matter what happens or who gets killed, there's always someone else that could swing, and pretty much ultimates aside or a combo of abilities, it should be legitimately impossible for the enemy team to win right here in this scenario, and it really plays out textbook just like that. They win the round very, very easily off the back of Shroud setting up this refrag hold play that you should know about and understand why it's so powerful for your games and just for your understanding of the game of Valorant as a whole. Now, moving on to the last big play that I wanted to break down. Shroud is gonna snipe from Cat, but he gets smoked off, and in a mix-up play, he's gonna decide to peek up top Cat with his op. Now, he's gonna hear an updraft, and he knows that the enemy jet is opping, so he holds this top left box, and he gets an easy kill with the post, which is always gonna give you an advantage. As long as you have that angle, you're gonna be able to win that op v op every single time. And the fact that he identified that the sound means he was on the box means it was a really easy kill with the operator. Now, there are two big takeaways that you really need to understand about this gameplay that I broke down. The first one is Shroud was down bad at the beginning of the game, but he managed to come back in a big way by not allowing himself to tilt, making sure that he consistently still makes smart plays, and just basically playing his role more and more instead of trying to go for hero plays over and over again, which is like a self-fulfilling prophecy where you try to make hero plays when you're down bad, and it just makes you go down worse and worse and worse. And the next thing I want to talk about is, if you're talking about raw aim, Shroud is better than everyone in the lobby, but it's his huge brain that makes the big difference. His understanding of games, his understanding of the setups for plays, and a lot of the kills he did get were not because he out-aimed enemies. It was simply outplaying them with game sense on the board, and that's something that you should really understand. Just having really good aim is not good enough in Valorant, and a lot of these intricate plays that Shroud makes are plays that you can make as well, and they would still work correctly because you're not taking 1v1 aim duels with people. You're making smart timing plays, team-based plays, or post-up plays that are guaranteed to get you value as long as you make the appropriate play on paper. But go to the GameLeap website in the links down below for a special 50% off Valentine's Day sale. Don't miss out on this insane opportunity to learn from the best of the best with in-depth advanced guides, VOD reviews, tips, and tricks. We got everything that you could possibly need on the GameLeap website, so do yourself a favor. Go check it out in the links down below. Anyways, thank you so much for coming by. I hope you enjoyed the video. And this last message is just for my wife, but I love you. Happy Valentine's Day. Anyways, see you next time, guys.